Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and this is the conclusion of Week 10 Power Rankings. We're heading into Week 11. After this week's games, we are at a point where the tide is starting to change in the NFL, and this has been a crazy season, an unpredictable season for a lot of teams, and we're at the point now where we still can't make a lot of some of these teams, and others we kind of know where they are, but it's time to give my grade for where each team stands heading into Week 11 of this NFL season. But before I do, make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow and to beat the YouTube algorithm. And if you are one of the people that are not subbed and enjoy football content, make sure you click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But let's time to rank these teams heading into Week 11. Without further ado, let's dive into it. All right, we're going to go first with the Arizona Cardinals. I am going to put the Cardinals at a C. I'm still not a big believer of this football team, even though they just beat the Rams. I've one that's predicted their inconsistency. Kyler Murray has been a big part of this team being inconsistent, and I'm going to put this team at a C. Next is the Atlanta Falcons. I am going to put them at a C. That loss to the Carolina Panthers was not a good loss. That team, the way the Falcons have been playing above expectation this season and the way the Panthers have slipped with P.J. Walker or Baker Mayfield at quarterback, I just felt the Falcons team should have been a better football team against them, and they just were not. Next is the Baltimore Ravens coming off of a bye week. I am going to put this team at an A. Lamar Jackson is still playing at a very high level, even though Rashad Bateman went down for the year. Defensively, getting Roquan Smith helped this football team a lot. So I'm going to put them at an A. Next is the Buffalo Bills, and these last 2 weeks they have dropped the ball, in which I am going to drop their grade to an A. I've had the Bills at an S pretty much all season long. Josh Allen over the past couple of weeks has thrown 6 interceptions, inexcusable interceptions, fumbled the football basically at their own 1-yard line, which led to the Vikings touchdown and the Vikings comeback win. And it was like this Bills team, they just let up. They really let up against the Minnesota Vikings, so I'm going to put them at an A, and I'm dropping their grade. Next is the Carolina Panthers. Despite the win, I'm still going to have this football team at a D. They played one good game against the Atlanta Falcons, but I'm not going to move this team up just yet. It's just so much that this team has just kind of forfeited their season almost with the trading of McCaffrey and Robbie Anderson. It's just not a good team despite them beating the Falcons. Next, I'm going to put my Chicago Bears at a C. Defensively, this team is bad. Outside of Justin Fields' mistakes and a couple of missed penalties, they beat the Detroit Lions. I won't get too much into it. I'll leave my reaction to this game in the cards. But Justin Fields, starting to look like he's the best quarterback coming out of that 2021 draft class. Something I kind of predicted, but I'll just leave that there. Next is the Cincinnati Bengals. They are also coming off of a bye week. I am going to put the Cincinnati Bengals at a B. They are finally realized that Joe Mixon exists, and offensive line still is not great. Defensively, they have been creating a lot of turnovers and getting after the quarterback. It's just once this running game gets going and they start to realize that Joe Mixon does exist back there, I think they'll be a better football team. Next is the Cleveland Browns coming off a loss to the Miami Dolphins. This team has been a bit inconsistent all year. Defensively, I thought that's where they were hanging their hat, and that hasn't been the case for the most part this year. Now, we know offensively, running the football is their strength. It's just when they're throwing the football, I like Brissett, is just not consistent enough to win you a lot of football games. Next is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm still going to have, I'm going to drop them to a B. Defensively is where they've been the strongest at all year, and they let Aaron Rodgers come back against them. They refused to run the football to kill the clock, and I blame Mike McCarthy for that. A lot of people blame Dak Prescott, but I blame them the play calling, and I blame the defense not being able to make stops when they needed to. And that secondary got cooked. So I'm going to put them at a B. Next is the Denver Broncos. I had to drop them. This team just, they have a lot of injuries too. They traded Bradley Chubb. It's just this team hasn't found any bit of consistency either. My expectations for them were so much higher going into the year, and they just haven't lived up to it. Detroit Lions, I'm still gonna have them at a D. I'm not gonna say they got lucky. They made the plays when they needed to. It's just they were going up against the Bears defense that was so bad. Jared Goff didn't look so great, even though he had all the time in the world, because we all know the Bears, defensive line stinks. I'm going to put the Detroit Lions at a D. Their running game was very successful. Their defense is still bad. Outside of Aiden Hutchinson making plays, their defense is not a good defense. Next is the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to raise them up to a B. I think they found something in Christian Watson. Defensively, they're still not a very good football team at this point. And offensively, they still have errors or parts where they are inconsistent, but Rodgers pulled them back late against a very good Dallas Cowboys defense and eventually won them that football game. So I'm going to put the Green Bay Packers at a B. Next, the Houston Texans, the worst team in football. They're still a very good coach team. Like I've said all season, this team is just not talented at all. Next is the Indianapolis Colts, coming off of a win with new head coach, surprising head coach Jeff Saturday against the Raiders. I'm going to put them at a C. They finally realized Sam Ehlinger was not the guy at the quarterback position. I don't know what that previous regime, I don't know what's going on with this Colts team. They're a mess, but they did find a way to come and beat the Vegas Raiders in Vegas. And I will give them the credit. Jonathan Taylor is starting to get a rhythm back running the football. So I'm going to give them to a C. Next is the Jaguars. I still have belief in this football team in the future. I still have belief that they will get things together and they will start to come together and Trevor Lawrence will start to develop better. But for right now, I will give them a D. Next is the Chiefs, my first team in this ranking that is going to go in the S tier, even though they are a very good football team. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Patrick Mahomes is looking like the MVP candidate. That defense is playing a whole lot better than what I would have ever expected coming into this year. So I'm going to put them at an S. Next is the Los Angeles Chargers. This team is at a B, but they have so many injuries, whether it's Bosa, whether it's Mike Williams, whether it's Keenan Allen, who's missed the majority of the year. This team has been plagued by the injury bug. J.C. Jackson. They are a very talented football team, and I still think they could possibly make the playoffs, but I think the injuries have been too much for this football team to overcome at this point. Next is the Los Angeles Rams. This team is just not a very good football team right now. And with the injury to Cooper Kupp, who knows where there's going to be this going forward. Matthew Stafford was out last week with a concussion. And it just shows that Cooper Kupp to Matthew Stafford connection was a very serious thing, as Kupp struggled even before the injury, and this defense has not lived up to its billing at all, so I'm going to put them at a C. Next, the Raiders, D. I think Josh McDaniels, personally, to me, was the wrong hire. I believe he was the wrong hire, and this football team does not look very good at all. Josh Jacobs has been playing a lot better. Offensively, they've been playing better. That secondary is just bad, and they haven't been getting after the quarterback like they should, and the secondary, like I said, is just It is the downfall of. Next is the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to put them at the S tier. I am going to put the Miami Dolphins in the S tier. Tua right now is the MVP in my eyes. Tua Tagovailoa has been playing excellent football with Hill and Waddle, and that defense has been playing a lot better than what I thought coming into this year, and the system on top of the AFC East. I'm going to put the Dolphins at an S tier. Next is the Vikings. I'm also going to put them in the S tier. What a remarkable comeback against the Buffalo Bills. And Justin Jefferson is starting to look like the best wide receiver that we have in football. Dalvin Cook is very explosive, and that defense has been playing a lot better than we all expected. And the Vikings are a team that really nobody talks about. Nobody really talks about the Vikings, and I'm going to put them at an S. They've been on a winning streak. I'm putting this team in an S. Next, the New England Patriots. This team is another tough team to grade. They are coming off of a bye. I'm going to leave them at the B tier. Now, Mac Jones has had his struggles. Defensively, I think that's what's been keeping them in a lot of their ball game. And the running game with Ramondre Stevenson has been a very good piece for them. So I'm going to put them at a B. Next is the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to drop this team to a C. Andy Dalton is not the guy. I don't know why they're not playing Jameis Winston, in my opinion. I think he should be the quarterback. They have a lot of injuries, too, with Thomas out, Lattimore out, Olave missed time. Kamara has not been the same. That defense has not really been the same. I'm going to put them at a C. Next is the New York Giants. This team just find ways to win games. The Giants just find ways to win games. Saquon Barkley has been otherworldly. We still haven't seen that magical or spectacular type of game of Daniel Jones. But that Giants defense has been a lot better. That Giants defense has been creating turnovers and creating some havoc. I'm just waiting to see that game from Daniel Jones really elevate this team up the top. Next is the Jets coming off of a bye week. I'm going to put the Jets in an A. It's surprising. This New York Jets team has been a lot better than I expected. I did predict them to be one of the more improved football teams going into this year with the first round picks of Sauce Gardner, who's been a beast. A guy like Garrett Wilson, who's been a very good find for them out of the Ohio State. And the question about them is the quarterback position. And I think once Zach Wilson starts to get it together, I believe this Jets team can do some very dangerous things going forward. Next is the Philadelphia Eagles coming off of a bad loss, their first loss of the season to the Washington Commanders. I still believe they're one of the better teams in football, and a lot of people I've seen starting to panic. It's one loss. In the course of an NFL season, you're going to have good teams, have some losses, some questionable, some bad losses. I'm still going to put them at the S tier. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers coming off of a win. I'm going to put them at a C. It's just offensively, I don't believe in this Kenny Pickett kid. I will be 100% honest. I'm not a believer in Kenny Pickett. He still has time to get it together, and like I said before, the quarterbacks from the 2022 draft class, I thought none of them were ready to start right away, and they're starting to prove a little bit true with Pickett. So I'm going to put them at a C. Next is Seattle Seahawks coming off of a loss. I'm going to put the Seahawks at a B. I still believe that this team is way over exceeded any expectations that we have of them. Geno Smith has been playing like a very good quarterback. Defensively, they've been a lot better than I expected this team to be. And they are looking very good with Kenneth Walker running the football. Despite the loss, I'm still going to have the at a B. Next is the San Francisco 49ers. I'm also going to put them at a B. Shout out to my guy Jay in the Bay. This is a football team that defensively, that's where they lay their hats. And they beat a Chargers team, even though they were banged up. They made the key necessary plays late in that ball game. And Christian McCaffrey is looking like a steal for this offense. He has been very productive since walking in that building with that uniform on. And that has been a big find for this offense. And that's made them even more explosive. Next is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2 wins in a row. I'm going to put them at a B. They have a lot of injuries themselves, especially on the defensive side of the ball, even though they're starting to get some guys back. Offensively, they still have the tendency to not be able to run the football very good, but they were overcoming a Seattle Seahawks team in Germany, and they were able to beat them, so I will give them the credit. They have to run the football better. The offensive line with the injuries early on in the preseason and the early season has hurt. So I'm going to put them in a B. Next is the Tennessee Titans. I'm also going to put this team in a B. They're finding a rhythm in the running game. They're finding a rhythm defensively. They've been a lot better going on in the season. So I'm going to put the Tennessee Titans at a B. And last but not least, the Washington Commanders, I put them at a B, coming off of an upset win against Philly. I've said from pretty much the jump, Taylor Heineke is the better quarterback for this particular football team than Carson Wentz has ever been. And I personally believe they need to stick with Taylor Heineke going forward. Defensively, they made some plays. Terry McLaurin is looking like the receiver that we thought he would be with better quarterback play. This Washington Commanders team, they started to struggle early, but I really believe they're catching a little bit of a rhythm with Heineke at quarterback. These are my rankings for Week 11. If you guys agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate or whatever. I don't care. These are my rankings, and they are fluid, and they change week to week. Make sure you guys leave this video a like. Helps the channel to grow. It beats the algorithm. And if you are not subbed, go click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. APW Sports signing up. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.